Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg's marathon questioning before Congress has wrapped. One of the representatives who gave Mark Zuckerberg a piece of his mind, Republican Leonard Lance of New Jersey. Take a listen.
Do you believe that that action violated your consent agreement with the Federal Trade Commission?
We do not believe it did, but regardless, we take a broader view of what our responsibility is to protect people's privacy.
Thank you. I think it may have violated the agreement with the Federal Trade Commission, and I'm sure that will be determined in the future.
I would like to welcome Representative Lance, who joins us now from Capitol Hill. So, Representative Lance, how satisfied were you with Mark Zuckerberg's testimony today?
I asked him a direct question, and Emily, he responded, and I tend to disagree with his response, and the Federal Trade Commission is now investigating the matter, and I hope that the investigation occurs in a fashion.
So what are you most concerned about?
I'm concerned about the privacy of the American people, and certainly the privacy of the American people was violated in this situation, and moving forward, we have to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
So do you think that more regulation is necessary?
I am a co-sponsor of a bill sponsored by Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee, the browser bill, and that would have a system that would be more protective of the privacy of the American people, and you would have to opt in, and I think that's the way we should proceed. And the browser bill is for all forums, not just edge providers, but also ISPs, and I think that is the way to proceed.
Beyond the browser bill, is there any regulation that you would support, given that, there are a wide range of topics at play here, beyond privacy?
I want to make sure that companies have the ability to innovate, but that does not mean that they should be in a situation where they invade the privacy of the American people, and certainly Congress wants to make sure that that does not occur. I think the browser bill would go a very long way in that regard.
Now, Speaker Paul Ryan now reportedly won't run for re-election. I feel like I have to ask you about this since we have you. Do you think that's good or bad for the Republican Party?
I think that the Speaker will continue to be involved to the highest extent in his responsibilities till the end of the year. He will remain Speaker until the end of the year. He will continue to be engaged in fundraising, for example. I wish him and his family well. And Emily, I think this was a personal decision based upon the fact that he wants to help raise his children in Janesville, Wisconsin. This is a very cynical town, and there are all sorts of explanations. I believe the Speaker when he says that he wants to be involved in the raising of his children with his wife, Jana. Moving forward, he is going to be working on behalf of Republicans across the country over the course of this year. And then there will be a new speaker come January.
Do you believe it has anything to do with friction with the president?
I do not. I believe it has to do with the fact that Paul is a young man. He's 48 years old. He has a whole life ahead of him. He will be very successful in whatever he does, and I take him at his word. He and his wife are raising their 3 children in Janesville, Wisconsin, and he wants to be more involved with that.
Now, back to Facebook, going forward, I know you've got the browser bill, but bigger picture, how much of the responsibility to protect, to self-regulate falls on Facebook, and how much do you think this falls on Congress and the law?
I think it's a combination of both, and the COO of Facebook, Sheryl Sandberg, last week indicated that she thought the company had not done as good a job as it should do, and that is obviously the case. And Mr. Zuckerberg, in effect, said the same thing both to the Senate yesterday and to the House today. And therefore, I think we should move forward with the browser legislation, and we should not rely on what Facebook or any other company says, because it's the responsibility of all of us working together to protect the privacy, not only of the American people, but really of people across the globe, because this affected not only citizens here in this country, but those across the globe as well, and that's why the British Parliament is investigating this matter as well.
I interviewed Sheryl Sandberg last week, and she also told me that Facebook's business model is not going to change. And this is a company that has built a multi-billion-dollar business leveraging data that users, that we share with Facebook. They said repeatedly they don't sell that data, but they rent that data in order to target advertising. Knowing what we know now, does it concern you that the business model will remain as is?
I think the business model might have to change based upon legislation we passed here in Congress. And if we pass the browser legislation, as I hope we do, then to some extent I would imagine the business model has to change, perhaps not completely, but certainly any company has to operate within the parameters of the laws created by the Congress of the United States.
Do you have any concerns that Facebook will not be ready for the midterm elections? You know, Zuckerberg said they are working on new products, new tactics, new AI. He hopes it'll be ready by the midterms, but will it be?
I don't know. I certainly hope that it will be, because we want to make sure that the integrity of the process is protected.
We'll leave it there.